Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Eerie Skies Podcast, Romance and Monsters. It's a show for dreamers and adventurers. It's about the paranormal. It's about mystery, intrigue, and the romantic side of it all. And, of course, monsters. All brought to you by the biggest monster of them all, a human. I'm your host, Josh the Guy, and I'm excited for episode number 2. Introducing Extra-terrestrial. So guys, I think of myself as a bit of a collector. There are many types of collectors in this world. Some collect coins, others collect classic cars or vintage guitars. I myself, though, I like to collect stories. That's why I started this show, to share my collection, my passion. If you have a story you'd like to share, you can email them to me at eerieskiespodcast@gmail.com. You can either type it out and email it, or you can make a voice recording and send the file through the email that way. It's up to you. You can tell me your name, where you're from, or you can be completely anonymous. That part of it is all up to you. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Gallery 46, Best Traditional Tattoos in the Business, and by Blue Sky Property Maintenance. The world may not be perfect right now, but your lawn can be. So with a topic like this, where do you even begin? I mean, these things show up from the beginning of time. They're carved in stone. You see them in ancient Egypt, the Mayan civilization. Even today, the U.S. government and military admit that these crafts are flying around our airspace and there's nothing they can do about it. Nothing. They don't show up on radar sometimes. They disappear in the blink of an eye. Tonight I'm going to read a couple listener stories. I'm going to talk about a famous case. I'm going to talk about one celebrity case, and I'm going to play a story from a young lady who listens to the show. And I might end it with a possible Yowie sighting. So buckle up, folks. Here we go. The first one of the night was sent to me by Johnny. Johnny says, "Hey Josh, hope all is well. I want to tell you about my UFO encounter. I'm from Illinois. One day in my early 20s, I think I was 22 maybe, me and my buddy Jeff were hanging out at my apartment. I lived in a small Illinois town, very close to Lake Michigan. We were both set to work second shift that afternoon. We both had factory jobs, not for the same company, but in the same industrial area of town. We were just playing video games, chatting, catching up. Then before you know it, it was time to go to work. When Jeff's truck wouldn't start. Since we worked nearby each other, he hopped in with me. And we would look at his truck in the morning. Anyway, there were 2 ways to get to work from the apartment. The new highway, that was a straight shot and roughly 20-minute drive, or the old scenic winding highway that followed Lake Michigan. And that one took about 40 minutes. Since it was a beautiful sunny day, we took the scenic route. Out over the lake was a big blue sky filled with white fluffy clouds. It was so sunny. There was absolutely no wind and the lake was completely still. As we rounded one particular bend in the road, we were chatting and then we both became speechless instantly. Out over the water was a silver tic-tac shaped object, maybe 50 feet above the water, about a quarter mile offshore. It was completely still, but water was flowing off it hard. You could see where it was landing in the still lake like a waterfall. All of a sudden, the object produced a blue glow, and it became completely dry from what we could tell. It then started to slowly hover in the opposite direction that we were driving. We quickly stopped the car, turned around, went back around the bend to follow it, and it was gone, vanished. And that's the end of his story. Well, short and sweet, eh, Johnny? But it was a good one. And, Lake Michigan is a massive lake, and I live in the Great Lakes area of Canada. I know there's lots of sightings over those waters, Lake Erie, Lake Superior in particular. Lots of stories of crafts flying into the water, out of the water. Some people think they have a base down there. That could be possible. I guess we'll never know what you saw. I'm wondering how big it might have been. And it reminds me of the Commander Favor story. He was on an episode of Joe Rogan, and he seen a similar tic-tac shaped object, and in fact he chased it with a fighter jet off the coast of California or Mexico, I believe. And I think he said it was 50 feet long. Regardless, that was a really good story, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Johnny. Now we're on to story number 2. This one is a call-in. In fact, it's our youngest caller we've ever had on the show, 10-year-old Mindy. It's a short one, only about a minute long, and she was nervous, but I thank her so much for calling. Here it is. Listen up, guys.
Hi Josh, my name is Mindy, and when I was 8 years old, I was at the beach with my mom on Lake Erie in Ohio. The day was really nice out and there were no clouds in the sky. My mom was reading in her chair while I played in the water a couple feet off of shore. This beach was really secluded and there was only one other family there. I was in my own world and so was my mom, so neither of us were really paying attention to each other. Near the end of the afternoon, my mom yelled to me and said that I had 10 more minutes until I had to go back. At this point, I looked up to see a ship with blue, green, white, and red lights blinking on and off, and it shot straight up into the sky and was gone in the blink of an eye. I'm 10 now, and that was 2 years ago. Thank you for listening to my story. I love your podcast, and I hope you do good.
Just in America, over 40 million people claim they've seen a UFO. I myself, in the last 2 summers, have seen 5 or 6 strange lights flying over Lake St. Clair. They were definitely unidentified. Nothing I know of could move the way they were. No idea if they were alien or not. I don't know. Who knows, right? But even celebrities have stories. I've heard Dan Aykroyd tell a bunch of stories. I have one here from Aaron Rodgers, quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, just signed a new deal. Anyway, this story comes to us from CBS Sports. Before Aaron Rodgers was a first-round pick in 2005, he experienced another first. The Packers quarterback had a close encounter of the first kind, which is like a close encounter of the third kind, except you don't see any aliens, just the UFO. I'll go over the 5 different types of close encounters at the end of the show. Rodgers described the mysterious incident on the You Made It Weird podcast with host Pete Holmes.